I'm Billy Weeks. I'm a documentary photographer. I have worked as a documentary or a photojournalist since 1984.
What do you think is the most rewarding part of being a photographer?
Well, there's a difference in being a photographer and being a journalist or a documentarian. There's quite a bit of difference in it. Being a photographer is somebody that's mastered the skills of photography, and you typically get photographers who go out and make great portraits and those kind of things. And there's great value in that. My background's in journalism. I go out and tell stories, and I think the greatest value that I bring to the table is that it's never just a picture. If you look at it and are marveled by the camera skills that I have felt, if you look at it and it presents questions to you, then I've probably hit a nerve, and it's probably more valuable than being a photographer. So for me, it's about being a journalist. We passed a big factory that was over on our left. I immediately said, can we stop? And we couldn't at that time. So we drove on to our festival. Spent my time photographing at the festival, and then he and I walked back to this factory. This factory is a brick factory, and the brick factory is an area where a lot of people who live up into the mountains, and this was in Kathmandu in Nepal, a lot of people who live up in the mountains in the surrounding area had come up with debt that they had owed to other people, and it was usually to help fix a house. Maybe it was to buy food, maybe it was to buy livestock or whatever. But they had a debt to pay. Well, that debt was sold to this factory, and these people had to transport themselves from whatever village they lived in to this huge factory and make bricks. And they made bricks, and they carried bricks on their shoulders. And this was, a lot of the people were elderly, and they were carrying pounds and pounds and pounds of bricks. Some of the people there were like children, and the children were carrying bricks. So I photographed. We just walked in and unannounced, didn't really know anybody, and we started making photos. And we did. We made, in what little time we had, tried to make a collection of photos that had a narrative to it that could tell the story. Basically, this is modern day slavery, is what it is. And so we got to spend time with these people and make photos of them, and try to photograph the landscape, show a little bit about what it looked like, until the management of the factory found out we were there. And typically how that works is they brought security out to talk to us, and they were polite for the biggest part. Wanted to make sure that we knew that they didn't have children workers, but of course they did. I'd already photographed them, and eventually it gets to the point where they get really angry at you, or they do what happened here, which was he wanted to take me on a tour. That's how they control the media when you go into a place like that. So I got to see the tour, and eventually we became sort of friendly, and eventually he took me back to the bus stop so I could get a cab to go back to where I wanted to be. As a kind of another story for you, I was walking, I was on assignment in Honduras, and this has been last year, I think, and I was up in the mountains. And I was at a house, and there was a guy who walked up to this house, and he had a guitar on his back. Now, I don't play music, but my family does. Most all of them do. So I was interested in him, and he offered to take me to his house. Well, I was thinking that it wasn't very far, but it turned out to be quite the hike. And we went up the mountains and crawled, under a fence and kept going for quite some time, and got to his house, and he literally played the guitar, and then his brother showed up, and they played guitar and fiddle for me for about an hour, and I just got to record it. Now, the music was really bad. It was terrible, actually. But the experience was incredible, and just to get the opportunity to sit and listen to those guys was it was one of those things that you don't ever get to do. And I don't think I ever go anywhere that I don't come back where mentally and physically I struggle with it, and I do. I just happen to believe that everybody is valuable, and sometimes I see people who don't have enough food, or medically maybe and physically maybe run down, and yeah, it struggles. I covered Haiti right after the earthquake, and I was photographing on the streets, and you would see body parts there after the earthquake, people that were killed, and you don't walk away from that and think that things are normal. You just don't, and yeah, I struggle with it. I really do. I don't know how to answer that any better than that.
No, that was a perfect answer.